In this video, we are going to see what is Npm. So we briefly discussed something about Npm, so we can install packages and JavaScript open source packages using Npm. But in this video, we are going to have a deeper look at it. So we earlier discussed that npmjs.com. If you go to this website, then this is the homepage where this Npm packages are hosted. So what is Npm essentially? Npm is an independent company which from the very beginning times when Node.js was released, from that time only it is there, and almost all the packages which are there supported in the Node.js ecosystem, they are available on Npm. So earlier we saw that so if some package like node fetch or serve is there, then you can search and you can find various packages, open source packages which are here, and you can install them and use them directly. Okay, so so this Npm is an independent company. However, recently this was acquired by GitHub, and as you know that GitHub was earlier acquired by Microsoft, which means that essentially this npm.js is owned by Microsoft. As you also know that this VS Code is also a software which was created by Microsoft only. So Microsoft is pretty big on open source these days. In fact, another very important tool which is related to JavaScript, which is called TypeScript. TypeScript is essentially a superset of JavaScript, and so right now, let's say we are using index.js, right? Now, in TypeScript, that file will be index.ts. TypeScript, and that is almost like JavaScript, but a superset of JavaScript, and that gives us some typings which is available, which is very much useful while writing JavaScript. So we'll learn about that also. But the point is that TypeScript is also a language which was developed by Microsoft, and that was essentially because JavaScript was not very good at that point of time, and Microsoft essentially took the matter in its own hands, and what it did is that they improved and added a lot of features on top of JavaScript, which means that essentially all the core things which were working, which work in JavaScript, all of them work in TypeScript also. But on top, they added some new features like types and all in the JavaScript. Okay, and TypeScript Microsoft created because of simple reason that when the internet it was very much clear that on the internet all the softwares have to be there through a web interface also. Then as you can see that these days Microsoft offers MS Office etc. directly from the browser, and as you can understand, being Microsoft and being the size at which the Microsoft Office operates, that those doing that in browser will basically mean that they will have to write millions and millions of lines of code in JavaScript, and JavaScript being not that good at that point of time, they tried to improve a bit, and that's how TypeScript came into existence. Anyways, we'll learn about that. So open source softwares is very much what we want to do because we know that building everything from scratch is not what we want, right? If we already have some packages which somebody else has, so for example, serve is a package, right? So sort of a tiny web server. Then we don't want to write our own web server and everything. We don't want to reinvent the wheel every time, right? And that's why it's good to use these packages. And now we are going to set up a small project where we will use Npm, which is basically the package will be called Npm package, and in Node.js ecosystem, all the libraries which are there that can be accessed from Npm and installed there. Okay. Now, one more thing, the library which we'll be using later called React, that is a library which was created by Facebook. Okay, so as you can understand that these big companies have very much good presence in open source world also, right? Now, as I told earlier, that Npm is from the very beginning days of Node.js. So it's very well supported by Node.js, and most of the packages, if not all of the packages which are built on Node.js ecosystem, is published on Npm. Okay. So what is a package? What is a package essentially? Package is a standalone piece of software or utility which can be distributed independently. So for example, we earlier saw this serve package. So this is a piece of code which is independent of any of the projects. So any of the project which wants to use this, they can simply download this piece of code or install this via Node.js using Npm, and they can use it in their project. So essentially this thing is a standalone piece of software and can be distributed independently. So it does not matter, like it is hosted on this Npm also. There are some other places also, and like for example Yarn also has its registry. You can have your own registry, right? So these things are very much used everywhere, and the idea behind a package software is simply reusability. Now once we have a reusable software, then there has to be some mechanism using which we can install this in our local systems, right? And that mechanism is what a package manager is there. So Npm is essentially a package manager. So Npm is a website. Npm hosts packages. So Npm is a package hosting service, as well as we saw earlier that like we installed a tool also called Npm, right? So with Node automatically it comes installed, right? So this Npm tool here, you can understand this as a package manager. In fact, the full form of Npm is Node.js package manager. So Node package manager. So it's a package manager using which we can install these softwares from Npm and use it in our local systems. Okay. Now what is the purpose of all this? So you can understand that as we discussed earlier, a software may involve many parts, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel, right, while writing every piece of code from scratch ourselves. So we use and build on top of other open source softwares and packages which are built and published by others. Okay, so that we can save some time here. Now we also saw a website called GitHub, right? Now GitHub, so GitHub is also owned by Microsoft. In fact, GitHub acquired Npm. So essentially now GitHub and Npm are same company, and the umbrella company is Microsoft. So what is the difference between GitHub and Npm? You can see that, yeah, so serve package, if you search here, you can see that yeah, so serve, so essentially here you will see that this github.com virtual serve. So this github.com/virtual serve. So Virtual is a company which created this package called serve, and anyone can create, even you can create and publish your own packages here. Okay, so that we can learn sometime later, that how to create your own packages. Right now we are interested in how to create our websites, our own web apps. Okay, so the point is that so here also serve package is there, and here also serve package is there. So what is the difference? What is the purpose of Npm and what is the purpose of GitHub? So essentially GitHub is a source code hosting service, which means that, let's say you can see that many like here you can see that 84 people are contributors. 84 people are core contributors. On top of that, you can also contribute to those projects. So there can be like thousands of other contributors who have contributed to this code, right? So you can see that if you go to commits, then you can see that different people are this is called pull request. So essentially they create some fix or some new feature, and then they give back to this repository, and after proper testing and code review, that can be merged in this code base, and then they can be available for others to use. But when we are using the source code, using the published package, that we are doing from Npm. but the actual source code is generally here. So you understand that here generally you can see that how to install it and just use it, and that is just there. Actual code is not here. However, actually there are ways to see code here also, but the main point is that generally the code part and the exploration of code, that so what is the, if serve package is there, then so what is the actual piece of code which is running, right? So those sort of things can be seen, that so this is the actual piece of code which creates our web servers. So for browsing the code and for going through and exploration and hosting this piece of code, collaboration, all those things are done on GitHub. And once you are ready with something that so now my version 13 is ready, or my version 14 is ready, then you can release that and publish on npm, so that others can install that using npm tool. So that is how it works. Okay, so npm is used for hosting published packages, and GitHub is used for collaboration and hosting source code of that thing, of whatever tool or application or utility, library, package you are building, right? Okay. Secondly, here you can see that the latest version is there, and you can see that a lot of other releases are there, which you can see that what are the 30. So the currently 13.0.2 is there, and you can see that other versions are also there, right? So you can see that here also 13.0.2 and earlier versions history is there, right? But generally you can't browse the code here. For browsing code, this thing GitHub is only much preferred, right? And there are other tools also like npm, which is there is a tool by Facebook called Yarn. Okay, so Yarn is also a package manager, and like you do npm install something, then you can see in a similar manner you can do Yarn install or something, right? So for example, if we want to install something, then we can and earlier we saw that npm init we do, so similarly Yarn init also you can do. But the point is that earlier it was slightly faster than npm, and that's why people were migrating to Yarn. But nowadays these developers see each other's code, and these developers collaborate, right? So nowadays npm has also caught up, and npm is also now pretty much fast. So now both are same speed, right? Now, but npm comes pre-bundled with Node.js, and by default it has support. Node.js has by default support for it. So why to go for another piece of software? Because this Yarn you have to separately install. After Node and npm, again you have to install Yarn and then use it. But still, some people prefer Yarn. You can also prefer Yarn. You can go and read the documentation. But for purposes of this course, we will be using simply npm, which is pretty much the standard these days. Okay, so we have learned that we can use any of the. Now we will see in detail in the next video that how to install, uninstall, upgrade, delete these packages. But right now we are trying to do a basic setup, right? So one more thing, this thing where published packages are hosted, there is also a term for it which is called registry. Okay, so package registry it is also called. So package hosting service, this thing is also called package registry. So you can say that npm is a JavaScript package registry. Okay, for each programming language, there is one or more most popular package registries. So for example, let's say you are working in Dart world, right? Then pub.dev is the places where all the packages for Dart exists. Similarly, there is PyPy, which is like the package registry or package index of a Python world various packages. So you can understand that each programming language has its own repository where you can search packages from the open source world and install them, right? So right now, since we are working in JavaScript world, so we'll be focusing on obviously on npm. Okay, and the syntax, we understood that yarn also you can use, but then whatever syntax I am using, simply by replacing npm with yarn might not work. So you have to go and read the documentation that how these things work in yarn. But almost there are slight differences, but almost yarn and npm are similar in a way. Now, first of all, let's say we have to install some package. Okay. Okay. So before installing a package, firstly we have to see that how to set up our project so that we can start installing. So right now, if I do something like let's say npm install, let's say serve package I want to install, right? So firstly, why to install serve? See, earlier we ran this piece of code. So you go to, we are already in the folder where this piece of code is there, right? And we want to let's say run this thing right now. Okay, so let's say right now the server is not running and we have to start it, right? So obviously we can do something like serve dot, right? And then it has, and you could have done it in the separate terminal, but I am using inbuilt terminal of VS Code right now. But the point is that now that it has started, now you will see that when I refresh, then it loads correctly, right? But what is the problem? The problem is that this project is not self-contained. Why not self-contained? Because this package serve we earlier installed, if you remember, using npm i-g this command, right? Now if somebody has not already installed this globally, -g means globally, install serve package from npm globally. So this is the meaning of this command, right? Now if somebody has not installed, then they have no idea, then they cannot run it, first of all, right? So one of the earlier videos I mentioned this in passing, that your piece of code, your folder, your application software, whatever you are sharing it with others on GitHub or something, that should be self-contained, which means that they should not depend on external things. So everything should be inside, so should be mentioned inside this folder only, right? So first thing we are going to do is that we are going to remove this package called serve. Okay, so in order to do that, there is a command called uninstall. And again this command is like npm uninstall -g serve. Okay, so -g why we are passing, because we installed it globally, so we want to uninstall it also globally. Okay, so if I remove that and then I run this command serve dot, then you can clearly see that command not found, because we have removed this. Okay, so now somehow we have to install everything in this folder and then run everything from within our source code base. Okay, so yeah, so let's see that we earlier installed so instead of npm I, you can use npm install also. So npm I and npm install both works, but the point is that earlier we used -g did not install it in this folder, it installed it globally, means so that it can be used by any of the folders, any of the projects in your entire machine. But if we remove this -g, then ideally it should install this in our current folder, right? But you see the problem, when I run this command, then you see that it has created a package.json, but you see that no other like there are other information needed regarding this project, right? So so that is not what we need. We know that package.json should have a few more information regarding the project and other things, right? And that's why this thing should not be directly run, right? So in order to do that, what should you do? That firstly you uninstall this, and you see that now it has become this thing, this empty empty JSON sort of thing, right? So what we are going to do that we are going to just delete all these things for now, right? And the first thing you are going to do, and this node modules was the folder which was created because if you install anything, then that gets installed inside this only. So right now what we are going to do is that we are going to delete everything, right? And first of all we are going to initialize our repository so that it is understood that it is a npm project, right? So for that, what we are going to do, we earlier saw this command called npm init. So npm init and -y. So if you don't do -y, then you see what will happen, that it will ask you a various questions. That is the package name hello world. So this is already in this folder called hello world, right? So you say that yeah, my what is the version should be this. So you keep on pressing enter and my app or something if you want to give some information, and then you understand it asks you a lot of questions, and you might not want to you might not want to give answer to all these like this, right? And then finally it creates this this package JSON. Okay, so so the idea is that rather than answering all those questions, so let's remove this again. What you can do is that you can do npm init -y. So -y which means simply means that you do yes to all the questions and don't ask me. Whatever I want to change, I will manually change once the package JSON is created. But while creating package JSON, don't ask me too many questions, right? So you write npm init -y and you press enter, and then you can see that by default, as per its intelligence, whatever it understands, it will create a default package JSON for you. So basically the name is whatever the folder in which you are running, it takes the name of that, and if you want to change it, you can change it. Again, the version by default it is giving you 1.0.0. you can change it to 0.1.0 or whatever you want. Description, you know, again, they don't have any description because they don't know about your project, so you can give some description, right? So my hello world project or something. So the point is that these things you can do, but when you run this command on your system, then something might happen, that these author name and these things might not come. Okay, so what happens is that I'll show you what happens, that when you initialize a project, then what is the initial, whenever you are doing npm init, then what should be the author name and what should be author's email, what should be license. So these things are actually configurations which you can do on your system, and I have already done some configuration. So and that configuration can be seen by npm config list or npm config ls. For shortcut you can use npm config ls. Now when you enter, then you will see a bunch of configurations, right? And if this does not and there is also npm ls -g. So -g means simply global settings, and ls means normal settings. So so again you can try both. The point is that you can see that I have already some configurations already there, right? So what I will do, that I will show you that how you can also set up your own these variables. So there is a command for that, and that command is called npm config, and then you can do set and then name of the variable, whatever. So let's say this init user email, right? So this you want to set. So you put an npm this variable which you want to set, and then the value, right? And then the value. So for example, abhi@raj.me or whatever your email, right? And then you want to do it globally. You want to set this globally, so that for all the projects in any folder you create projects in future, everywhere this variable is available. So every time the author should be that person, you, right? So you can put -g. Now this will set, but you see that I have already set it for myself, right? So let's remove it. What you can do that for removing, instead of config set, you do config delete. And again, I'm deleting, so just key is needed, the value is not needed, right? So if I delete config name, config email, config name, so you can see that init author email, init author name, and you can remove init license. I'm just removing it, and I'll add it again in front of you, license. Okay, now you see that all of these variables are gone. You can see that all those variables are gone, and that will be the case, default case in your system. It will be not there. Now you might be thinking that, yeah, so first time, how do I know that what are the variables there? How do I know, right? So here, whatever the variables you have set, only those are there, right? But you can do something like ls-l to see all the variables actually. So here all the variables are there, which are default also, right? So you can see that different variables. So you can see that init author email, init author name, init author URL, so init license. So you can see that all these variables. So if you want to just set give a, and then you can go and Google and go on npm site, and in fact you can go simply do something like npm config, and they will show you a bunch of things that how to use these variables. So you can see that just now I told you npm config set. Similarly, you can write npm config get to just view the variables, npm config delete, npm config list. I said, right? Now list, the alias is ls also, so that is fine. But the npm config, the whole description, the whole thing is here, and then you can see that what are the various parameters available, what are the various configurations available, and what can you do with these things, right? So and these variables also, some page will be there where they will list down all the variables. Okay, so you'll just have to Google a bit, but the point is that there are too many configurations, and all of that you might not need at this point of time. But simply let's say it is intuitive, right? That this is the email and name which I want to set, right? So first of all, let's see that I have removed this thing, right? I have removed this thing, and now I see that nothing is there. Now if right now I do npm init -y, then what happens? You see that, let's delete it again. And now do npm init -y. Yeah, so now you see the package that, yeah, there is no author name or email. The license is ISC is not the standard license. Generally these days MIT license is the one which is commonly used in all the open source world software. So yeah, so all these things, settings, I want to change manually, right? I don't want to change. Every time I create a project, I want those default, my name, my email ID should be there in the author fields or something, right? So now here comes the part which I was saying that right now it is not there, but what I configured earlier, now I'm trying to configure that in front of you, right? So I can do npm config set. Which variable I want to set? I want to set init author email, and that email I want to give my email, and then do -g. Okay, so -g is for globally, that across the system, whenever I need to create new project, every time use this author email in npm init, right? Okay, I did that. Now next I will set my name. So npm config name, we saw that variable also there, and then I will write my name, right? Now just pay attention that since this name is having space in between, so whenever there is no space in your value, then generally quotes are not needed, right? But when space is there, then generally put that thing, all value in quotes, single quote or double quote, so that the npm config tool can understand that this whole thing is one value. Understand? Space is everything. Like config, after space is set, after space, you understand? So space separation is the one which decides all the parameters, all the arguments which are passing to this config tool. But then if you don't put space, then it will treat this first name as the separate argument. You don't want that, right? This whole name is one argument, and that's why you want to put it in quotes, right? And so this is what we are going to do. And again, this license part I want to change to MIT. So init license MIT, right? So once I have changed everything, and then I do npm config ls, then we'll see that all the variables have come, right? And then now if you do npm init y, so let's remove this again. Npm init -y, then you can see that yeah, so the new package JSON has been created with some sensible default settings, and whatever the values you gave, all those things are already taken into consideration. And again, if small things like description, obviously you have to write every time for new project, right? Say, so my awesome new project. Okay, so so all these things you can fill up, and that will be all. That is where and these keywords and all, you can ignore it for now. So you can understand that when you have a package, then you can understand that if you write some keywords, then basically those can be used while somebody is searching on npm. Then they can see that, yeah, so these are the things which so somebody searches something, then better search results will become, your package will be shown in a better way if you can give some certain words as keywords. So it will simply describe that what is the purpose of your package. But right now we are not creating a package, right? We are creating a package, but not for publishing on npm. Rather, we are creating a package just so that it is it comes in the ecosystem of Node.js, where I can start and where I can start installing packages from npm, right? So it is consumption rather than publishing, right? So those things are not needed. But right now we are in pretty good shape. Right now we have told npm that and on Node.js for that matter, that this is a npm project, and we are good to go ahead and start installing packages. So that is just a single file pack, and you could have written everything from scratch on your own also. So if you delete everything and type on your own, that is also fine. But it's just that if some syntax error comes, then generally npm will stop working. So generally it is not recommended to touch packages manually, apart from writing some values like this or something. Rather than apart from that, let npm do the job. They will automatically update this whenever you run command, then automatically this file will be updated. So for example, you install any package, then automatically that thing will be installed here as a dependency or something, right? So we'll see that soon. So yeah, we now so earlier we had just folders, and now by adding this package.json, now this is a folder which is ready for any new package to be installed. So earlier we had some images, if you remember that we had some HTML, CSS images, index file, JavaScript file, HTML file, and some icon was there, favicon. So this favicon, let me tell you, so this thing is basically something like this, that in HTML you can write so you can write what is your script to be executed. So index.js, right? What is the style? So this is style, whatever CSS you want to add, right? So this thing you can add here. Similarly, you can add a file, then this is just a term which everybody uses, and that's why it has become standard. This is called favicon, right? And .ico means this is an icon file. Now this icon file is basically, favicon is a standard term which is used for this icon. If you see this icon here, and all the websites have some icon, right? Now those are basically coming from here only. So you have to declare in your HTML file that what is your favicon, and you could have put this inside images folder also, but then you would have to give it this path slash images slash something. So anyways, I am keeping it at root, so no need. Okay, so these are the files. Now package JSON is also there. So now let's start installing the package. Okay, now first of all, right now we are just going to install serve not much, because we want to start running our project as we earlier did, but as a standalone project, rather than having a global dependency or something, right? So now we are going to install serve inside this folder rather than some external global thing, right? So we are going to run npm install, or npm I also you can write, and then serve package, right? First of all, how do you know that this serve package exists? Obviously you searched here and you found that serve package is there. That is one thing, right? But you can also check it from here, and that there is a command called npm view. So if you write npm view, okay, then you can see that, yeah, this is a valid package, what is the version, latest version, and it was published when last time, updated when last time, and then who are the people who have contributed to this repository. So these are all the open source contributors who have contributed to this project, you understand? So if you see that there will be like many collaborators who have contributed to this project, okay? So that is fine. And again, if you write some gibberish name which package does not exist, then it will simply give you that 404 error that this package is not found on npm, right? So it's just that it's just a way to see that package exists. So you can ideally everybody checks from here and whatever, and reads the documentation, and they see that generally what is the how many people are using it generally. So if many people are using it, then it means that it is a pretty well maintained repository, so that you can trust on it, right? So it is like just open source thing, so you have to just see the reputation of it before using it, right? Okay, so we were on this thing that we can do npm install serve, right? And we know that now serve package is there, everybody we have earlier also used. But rather than G, we simply want to do this thing, npm install serve, right? You see, when I do, then my package JSON will get updated. If you see, right now there is no dependencies thing here, right? But when this command will be completed, then you see that this dependencies thing, and that's what I was saying, that never try to when you run these commands, then automatically package JSON will be updated. So never try to manually update too much things here, right? So automatically it takes care of everything. Now you see that, yeah, 13.0.2, this was the package which you are seeing, right? This caret, what is this caret thing, which this is part of the thing called semantic versioning. We will cover semantic versioning in some later video, and then we will discuss that in detail. But right now just think that this is right now which is installed, that thing which is installed here is called is a package called serve with version 13.0.2, right? And how do you check it from terminal, that whether you have that command that installed or not? That is called npm ls. So npm ls and serve. Now that you have installed it, you will see that, yeah, this package serve 13.0.2 is installed. Installed where? Installed in your machine, right? Now you see that in your machine means in your folder, in your folder it is installed. So if it would have been installed globally, then this thing will not come. You have to write npm ls serve and then -g, then it will come. Means -g means list all the global packages. Only ls will mean that list all the packages which are installed for this thing. But right now you see that if I am simply using ls, then that is not I want, right? So here you basically you have to test, you are testing that whether a particular whether a particular package is installed in your particular local folder or not, right? That you are just testing, right? Now firstly let me explain this thing. Dependencies is basically a object which lists all your dependencies. However, there is another thing which is called dev dependencies. So let me tell you the difference. Dependencies are something which you use directly in your code. So for example, if you use node fetch or something, right, that you are going to use directly in your code, like you will import or you will require, right, you will use in directly in your code. But there are other packages which are not directly used in your code, but rather used as a sort of tooling. Like for example, serve is not a direct dependency, serve is a dev dependency, right? Why it is a dev dependency is because when you publish this website, then for running that website they don't need serve, right? Why? Because you understand why? You see, for another developer to run this website, they will need this package. But I'm not talking about developers. I'm talking about this production. So let's say it is live on some domain xyz.com, and there you will have your own web servers, and that will be run customized way, right? Like any package which you are directly. So let's say some utility package you are using, right, directly inside this, right? Then you can install that. Then you can install that. But the point is that independency. But here serve, and there are other tools, right? For example, let's say linting and for code formatting, and all these are like developer related things, right? You don't want to add these things in dependencies. There is a convention. You could add everything in dependency, but there is not a convention. Convention is that anything which is not directly used in code is considered a dev dependency, and that is just used for your development work rather than actual part of the website or part of the package. So we will remove this right now. What we are going to do is that we are going to delete this and install it as a dev dependency rather than dependencies. Okay, so you see that what we are going to do, that we installed it using npm I serve, right? You can uninstall it using npm uninstall, or there is a other shortcut called npm rm means simply remove. If you run this command, then basically you see that this is removed. Okay, so this is removed, that is fine. And now if you run npm ls, then what will happen? Then it will say that yeah, it is not installed, and that's why it is empty, right? That thing not coming. Now I want to install, so I will again install, but this time I don't want to install it as dev dependency, as a dependency. I want to install it as a dev dependency, right? So the command for that is npm I or npm install serve, and then -- save dev. This means that save it as a dev dependency. Save this thing as a dev dependency. And there is a shortcut. You can run this command also. You can press enter, and there is a shortcut for this. Rather than writing this big thing, you can write simply. So that thing was double hyphen save dev. Save dev, right? But there is a shortcut which is called single hyphen capital D. Right? If you run this command, then what will happen is that this serve package is now installed as a dev dependency rather than a normal dependency, right? So earlier we saw that inside dependencies it was coming. Now it is coming as dev dependency. So this is what we wanted, right? So so that is fine. Now and what are these things again? Yeah, for everything you should go and so npm install, and you can go and read the documentation. So you can see that here somewhere you can find save dev. You can see that save dev is there, and the shortcut is hyphen D. So yeah, all those things whatever I am telling you, there are a lot of other options. Everything you can go and read the documentation, and all of the things will not be needed at this point of time, but slowly as you read the documentation, then you will come to know about many other things. Okay, so now that I have installed it, I want to run this run this project using serve. So right now obviously this server is not running, right, because server I have uninstalled. But now that I have installed it again using npm on my local folder, and you see that this node modules folder is newly created, right? And it has a lot of other things you can see, and a lot of other things are installed. What are these other things? So we discussed it earlier, right, that if serve is there, then it will have some dependencies, right? So like we are building using serve, similarly serve is built using other open source tools, and then again other open source tools So for example, this open source tool compression, it depends on other open source tools. So you can understand that recursively, like many softwares are dependent on each other. But since I am depending on serve and serve is using some other, so everything has to be installed in order to serve to run, right? So all the things are installed. Anyways, don't bother about these things because this is not shared with others, right? So you can simply delete this also. Not right now, because right now we want to run, but what happens, and right now let's also delete right now also, that doesn't matter. You see that if you delete this, then that thing is gone, right? Now it will not run. Right now we have not even learned how to run it, but even if we have learned how to run it, then if you try to run it, it will not run, because it will say that serve is not found, serve is not there, because you installed it but deleted it, right? But the idea behind npm is that now you can only share this much. Apart, you can remove node modules, and apart from node modules, everything else you can share with somebody else. Let's say on GitHub you publish this code, and others can download your code and run it. But the first thing they have to do is run a command called npm install. So you understand, for installing serve, we did npm install serve or npm iserve, both are same, right? But now you are running only npm install, or you can run only npm I without anything. If you don't give any package name, then this means that I am not installing a new package. Rather, whatever is already there in package.json, install everything for me, okay, for my local folder. Okay, so the node modules folder which I deleted, if you run npm install again, all the node modules folder, the entire node modules folder which were earlier there, that will be reinstated, right? And how npm is knowing? This is knowing from package.json. In package.json, all those things are already there which has to be installed in node modules folder, right? So let's run npm install again, and then we will see that node modules is again created, and all the things which was needed, everything is again installed. Okay, and the second time is why so fast? Because it is not installing from the internet right now. Actually, this might be transparent to you, but for optimizing speed, all those packages somewhere in the cache in your computer only, it has downloaded and saved it, right? Not here, somewhere globally, like npm is installed somewhere, right, in your system. So they are caching it, so that from the next time if you're trying to install the same package again and again, then that should be faster. Okay, so that is all. Now that we are ready, we have installed the software, but then how to run this? So first of all, where is this serve command? Actually there? So this serve file, serve package is installed, and I want to run something like serve, but right now you see that serve dot will not work, because earlier we installed it globally, so it understands where it is served, but right now it is locally, but locally where it does not know, right? So what happens is that you can do something like this, that in node modules folder, there is a package called serve. Okay, you see this serve, right? So this is what we installed. Now if we expand this, then there is a folder called bin, and you see that this serve package also has a package.json. So right, like our package.json, this serve package, so serve is also published, serve also is a separate repository. They created their own packages, and there they will have their own dependencies, that what are the various dependencies on which I am available, I am dependent, right? And these are the things which were listed earlier on serve package dependencies. So serve package had 9 dependencies, right? So these are the dependencies on which it is dependent. So that is declared by them in their dependency. Anyways, we are not bothering about these things, but the point is that this serve package has serve folder inside node modules, this serve folder is there. Inside serve folder there is a bin folder, right? Inside bin folder this serve.js is there. Actually this is the file which we want to run. This is the file which we want to run. Okay, let's try to run that. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to do something like this, that in the current folder node modules is there. Inside node modules what serve is there. Inside serve bin is there. Inside bin this serve.js is there, right? And again this serve, see inside actually you see that you have to run something like this, that let's say node, and if you run like this, can you see that your earlier what was globally running, now it is running from locally. Okay, now see the difference. The difference is that now we are giving a path of serve on my local node modules, right? And that's why it does not depend on any other global thing. However, there is and now if you refresh this, then you see that this thing is working fine. This thing is working fine, and now it is running from local. And if you cancel this, then again this will stop working. So now we are running it local, but it is cumbersome somewhat, right? Writing this big path. Okay, so we are writing node and then file name. In fact, when you are writing node, then .js extension is not needed. You can write, but it's not needed, because node is for JavaScript, right? So this automatically .js files are automatically, even without extension, they can understand it, right? So you can run it like this also, and it works. But you understand that this is like looking cumbersome. So in the recent versions of Node, there is a separate utility called npx. So like when Node was installed, then Node was installed, npm was installed. Similarly, there is another thing, npx is installed. What is this npx? What npx does is that it simplifies the way in which you can run these sort of commands, these sort of packages which are already installed in your local repository. Okay, so what you can do is that you can simply write npx serve and dot and enter, and this will also work. So now you can understand that this has greatly simplified the process. So what npx does is that it simply sees that in your node modules, are there any binaries or JavaScript files which I can directly run. So it searches for this thing in all the, so every folder will have some bin, right? So it will scan through all the packages installed in your node modules, and it will search anywhere serve is there or not, right? And that will and it will try to run that. So now that we don't need to write everything, this thing automatically, this thing is done by node only. So this thing is fine. And it works perfectly. So you can see that I refresh and it is working fine. However, one problem is still there. How do you tell others that you have to run this command? How do you tell others that you have to run this command? Okay, so one thing what you can do is that you can create documentation. You can create documentation for your project, and that you can do by doing something like this. So let's roll it. By creating a file here, which is called readme. And it is readme, and the extension is .md. What is this MD? We will see later. This MD is called Markdown. So readme.md, and some people write it capital readme, but actually both works. Readme, both work. Okay, but can I name simply read or my my documentation or something. No. So basically what happens that the convention is readme, and you should always use readme only. Why? Because this name is de facto standard where all the JavaScript so for example, let's go to the serve thing, right? So they will also have their readme. You see, they have their readme. And why this is standardized? Because now if it is standard, then what GitHub does is that if there is a file called readme, then automatically I will read that file and contents of that file will be shown on the home page. So rather than you going through that where I don't know where to go, how to use this package, I don't know. So whatever you write in readme, that automatically comes in home page, right? So that's why this standard has evolved in the open source world. Okay, but and there are some other files also. You see that we earlier saw that, right? If you go to this JS file, then you will see the source code of this JS this package, right? If you go to some other file, let's say npm rc or something, you see that this some text file is there, and git ignore is there, and you can see that this is also a text file. But what is this? What is this readme? If you click on this readme, then rather than showing you some text, it is showing you again so the same thing which was here shown. So same thing which was here shown, if you click on readme, the same thing is shown, right? Which proves the point that this is actually the thing which is by default taken by GitHub and shown on the home page, right? Now this thing, and you can see that they are also saying that the easiest way to run after installation is npm x serve, which we just learned, right? But the point is that how this beautiful HTML type of thing, like you see some headers are there and some paragraphs are there, some code is there, like what they have written inside this MD file so that it is looking like this much good. Okay, the thing is that this is actually the rendered version of that MD file. MD file means Markdown file, right? The actual file, if you want to see, for that you have to click on this raw. Raw will show you the actual file which is there. And if you click on this, then you see that some text is there. And yeah, this text is not HTML. Then how they are able to show us HTML, right? This is called Markdown. So you can understand that they played around with the word called markup. So HTML, whatever you write in HTML, this is called HTML markup, right? HTML markup, what they played around on the word and they called this Markdown. And Markdown is a full-fledged standard, but the thing is that there is some syntax which you can use to write HTML in shortcut. Understand? So Markdown is used to write HTML markup in a very fast and shortcut way. And what is the advantage? That it is fast, very shortcut, very easy, simple to read, simple to use. But the disadvantage is that it is not that complex, and it is not that advanced. You cannot do much things. Like you can write simple things like simple documentation pages. You can write like this. So these things you can write, but too much advanced some website you cannot build. Or you can build to some extent, but very advanced things you cannot do. So what happens that as soon as your complicated requirements come, then again you fall back to HTML only, right? And that's why you can see that here some HTML tags are also there, you can see, right? So actually if you write directly HTML inside Markdown, that will also work, but generally this thing is used for this special syntax. What is this special syntax? You see that hash uses, the quickest way to get started is to run npx serve, and npx serve they have in backtick they have written, and like this, right? What happens is that whatever you are writing here, everything has a special meaning, and you have to learn the syntax of Markdown, and then you can easily you can easily write your own. So everything like this uses, and although you see that it is converted to HTML. If you see, then you see that it is h2. So hash was there, which means that one hash means h1, two hash means h2. So now it is h2 tag. In shortcut you have said that this is h2 tag. The quickest way and whatever you were in is there, right? In backtick you wrote something, then it means that it has to be given like some code styling. Okay, so all the things you can see that rather than we writing tag h2 inside that and all those things and styling all these things like code, like it was very easily able to be done using that thing. And if you see its source code, if you inspect, then you will see that yeah, see it is h2, see it is h2 and users is there, right? So all those things are automatically taken care by Markdown. You don't need to do all those things, right? So you can write those things here, that that what is the package name, right? The package name is, let's say, hello world, right? And in 2h, right, I can say that like how to run, right? And then in single backtick you write inline code, and in triple backtick you can write block code, right? And then you can write that how to run, you can simply write that npx and then serve dot, or better you write that current folder or repo folder. Understand? So this means that npm serve, and you either give current folder path, or if you are already in current folder path, then you can simply write dot, right? And then it will run. So this is the way in which you can write documentation. But you know what, I wrote this like h1 h2, but is it really visible like is it really visible like markdown HTML? Like how can I see that whether it is there or not, right? So for that you see that in top right you see that this markdown preview actually so you have to install some plugins for that. Okay, so you see that you can install a plugin called Markdown. So you click on this button in VS Code and Markdown Preview, right, enhanced. So if you see this, then you'll see that you'll get a package like this. So I've already installed it, and that's why I can use it directly. But if you don't have this plugin, then you can simply install it, and then once you install it, then once you have a markdown thing, and on top right, if you hover over it, then it is showing that markdown preview, it is there, right? If you click on that, then it will show that what are you writing, right? So now you can clearly see that this is h1, this is h2, this is h3 something. So you see that this is h1, this is h2, this is h3, and then you can write this is an awesome project, right? And you can see that this is written, and then there are shortcuts for everything. For example, if you want to make it bold, right, then rather than writing in b tag, you can simply do star and you can do star asterisk, and this will become bold. If you make it italic, then rather than using I tag or em tag, you can simply put underscore. You can see that it has become italic. If you want to have a list of items, so it's item 1, item 1, item 2, item 3, something like this, right? Then rather than having a this thing ul li tag, you can simply write like this. You see, you simply write star in front, and then it will become list. So you see that internally this is ULLI, all thing is happening, but here you simply write. If you want a numbered list, then you can simply write 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, and this will become a numbered list, right? So so the point is that it becomes simple, right, to write the documentation, because I don't want to write proper HTML, because I quickly want to get away with this documentation, right? And the documentation is generally pretty simple, right? So why not to have some way which is easy to write and easy to use. Anyways, you can learn about more about it, like so Markdown to HTML. There is a website. You can play around it here, and they will show you that Markdown, what is Markdown, and you can see that bold, italics, this cross thing, how to do, and all the cheat sheet, like what are the various things you can do. So all this cheat sheet is already there. And yeah, and there's a version of GitHub Markdown also. So there's a default Markdown. So Markdown is not some company or some language or some W3 specification. It's just a community thing. People started using, and then people converged on some syntax, and the de facto standard there is something, right? So sometimes what some companies do, that, like for example GitHub, in this readme whatever they are, so some things which are not supported in general, like by like majority, GitHub, it has its own flavor of Markdown, which is actually Markdown only, but slightly more advanced, slightly more feature rich, right? That is called GitHub flavored Markdown. If you Google GitHub flavored Markdown, then GitHub flavored Markdown will have this is the whole specification where you can, but again this is actually a specification, which is like specifications are very deep and written in very detail. So what you want is generally some simpler just tutorial type of thing, right? So some cheat sheet, you can see that it is there, and somebody will you can see that hash means h1, 2 hash means h2. So they have like you see double asterisk or double underscore, which means bold, single asterisk or single underscore, these means italics. So the point is that, and you can see that the list, how to create. So you can go through it, and you can learn in short that how to add images, how to create list, how to how to create code how to create code style things, right? Write codes in inline code, in block codes, right? All those things. So the point is that how to create links. So you understand? So this type, how to create links in Markdown. So all those things you can learn. You can see that this is the way to create link. So you write something. The point is that, yeah, that might be a separate video, but the point is that here only what is this readme md file? This is a standard thing, that's why I told you, and you can write documentation in it, and you can learn more syntax on internet, that how to use Markdown. That is now. Okay, so now we are done. So we are ready with our installation, and we know that this thing can be run like this. So anybody, or you can write here npm install also, right? So anybody who takes your code, they have the instructions that how to run this piece of code, right? Your website, how to run npm install, run npm install, and then run npx serve, and then whatever your repo folder, right? So or you can simply write dot also here for simplicity. The point is that this is the way in which your project has to be run. Okay, there is one small thing left, which is like instead of like every time everybody going to the documentation that how to run, there is again a standard convention in the JavaScript world, especially the npm world, that how to run something, and that thing is called npm start. Okay, and the point is that when you are having, so let's see, so we know that this thing works, right? But rather than running separate commands, so you understand, right now we are using serve, somebody else might be using something else, so this thing will become complicated, right, for everybody. So what happens is that can we have a standard command? What happens that npm gives you facility called scripts in package.json. If you see, then there is a block called scripts, right? Scripts block is something which you can run from terminal using npm run. So just let me show you. So you can do npm run test. If you do run like this, then you can see that this thing is printed, no test is specified. And this is just a demonstration script, and it's like nothing, it does nothing. But the point is that echo means in Linux world or any Unix compliant operating system world, echo means simply print that thing on a screen, and that's why this thing is printed on the screen, right? But the power comes from that here you can create your own scripts, right? And the most standard is you use start, colon, and then write your own command here and then put comma at the end. Putting comma at the end is necessary, because otherwise your this JSON will become invalid. Not only that, this is JSON, this is not JavaScript object, and that's why you cannot put comma at the end or something like this, because this will become invalid JSON, right? So start, right? Now what will happen, that like I was running npm run test, now I have written npm start, now I have written start in scripts, so I can now run npm run start also. So if you see that this thing, if this thing was not there, right, and then I run npm start, then it will say that missing a script, there is no script called start, right? But now since that I have added this script, then I can run npm start, but then nothing happens because I'm not doing anything. What you can do now is that you can run your command from here. So from here you can write serve dot, and this will run. And why npx is not needed? Because when you are running using npm, when you are running from inside, so npm run start, so when using some script, when you are running, then whatever thing you are writing, that will be treated as a command. So which means that internally it will automatically add npx. It will think that if some command is there and some binary is there like this, then it will automatically use it. So you don't need to use it. So from outside world, like there is no way so when outside you are running npx serve dot, right? Who is running this command? This command is not run by this internal thing, right? This npx means this npx, see if you simply write this serve dot, then what happens? Who is running this command? This command is run by your machine, your shell, right? How they know that what to do? But now when you run npx, then now your shell, your terminal is running npx, and now npx knows that serve is there, and that's why this works, right? But now when you do npm run start, then already it is inside npm, and that's why you don't need npx, or already all the things, whatever commands are there, that will automatically run, right? Now when you run this npm run start, then you see that it works, right? So automatically it triggers that serve dot command, and then this thing runs and your website works. Okay, so yeah, one final thing remaining is that now that we have simplified how to run our project, then why not update our documentation, right? So rather than this, we are going to write that you do npm start, and then you do npm runs, you do npm install, and then you run npm run start. One small thing, so in general, whatever scripts you are writing here, everything can be run using this syntax. So I write here like, let's say ASDF, right? Then npm run ASDF, this thing will also work. You can see npm run ASDF will also work. But if there npm run ASDF is needed, simply npm ASDF will not run. Understand? npm run ASDF is necessary, but there are some commands which are standard, like start, like test. These are standard in the npm world, and that's why what happens is that when you are running npm run start, right, then obviously it will, so with run and npm run, everything will work like perfectly. But for these things, you can do a shortcut. Rather than npm run start, you can simply use npm start, and this will also work. But this will not work for all things I showed you, right? But for these things it will work, right? So Again, why to even write npm run here? Simply write npm start, right? So anybody who takes your source code, downloads your source code, and then simply runs npm install and npm start, automatically your website will get started, right? And then they can go on like localhost 3000, and then they can so why localhost 3000? Because I don't know, like I don't know what to do, but when I would run npm start, then automatically it will show me localhost 3000, and that's why I will go and on localhost or whatever port is started on your server, your local machine, that is where you have to go and start watching your contents of the rendered website, right? So that is all. Now you understand that how we are getting started with Node.js projects, right? In the next video, we are going to see some more way in which how to install various packages, update, delete the packages, that we'll see in the next one.